Almost everything you think you know about the T-Rex came from a movie prop and a sound guy in the 90s, not a fossil. The real animal couldn't run down a Jeep, probably didn't roar like that, and there's a decent chance it didn't even look the way you're picturing right now. I'm gonna be debunking 6 myths with real science behind every one, in order, starting from the worst. One thing before we start, none of this is scientists got it wrong and we're smarter now. Fossils are scraps, bone fragments, and the occasional lucky skin impression, and every generation reads them a little differently as the evidence stacks up. So this isn't mocking anybody, including the movies, it's just what the evidence says today, which happens to be a lot stranger than the version most of us grew up with. Let's start easy. Everybody's favorite dinosaur joke. Those stubby arms were useless, couldn't even reach the mouth, evolutionary leftovers nobody bothered removing. Except a few things don't add up if that's true. The bones in those useless arms were dense and heavily reinforced, built to handle serious stress, which is a strange amount of engineering to spend on something with no job. The better guess, those arms weren't built for hunting at all. They were probably for close-range grappling, pinning down struggling prey right up against the body while the head did the actual killing, or possibly for gripping a mate during mating season.
Short doesn't mean weak either. A single T-Rex arm could reportedly curl something like 400 pounds, roughly what a competitive powerlifter manages with 2. Just never anything you'd call graceful, and definitely never reaching a menu.
This one made it into real scientific debate for a while, not just pop culture. The argument, with a sense of smell that good and legs that couldn't sprint, maybe the T-Rex mostly just followed its nose to things that were already dead. More oversized vulture than apex predator. It's a fair theory on paper. Then researchers found a T-Rex tooth wedged into a duck-billed dinosaur's tailbone, with new bone healed around it. Healed bone only forms if the animal survived the bite and kept living for a good while afterward, which means something attacked it while it was still up and moving. Dead things don't grow new bone, so yes, it scavenged whenever the opportunity showed up. Most predators do, lions and hyenas both, but the idea that it couldn't or didn't actively hunt is settled. Quick twist on this one. For the last decade or so, popular science leaned hard into dinosaurs had feathers, and a wave of documentaries and toys followed along, giving the T-Rex a fuzzy coat. The actual fossil record swings the other way. In 2017, researchers finally found real skin impressions from T-Rex and its close relatives, patches recovered from the neck, the hip, and the tail. Every patch was small, pebbly, interlocking scales, basically the same setup you'd find on a modern reptile, with 0 feather traces anywhere they checked. Some smaller, much earlier tyrannosaur relatives probably did have feathery fuzz, but the full-grown T-Rex, at least on the parts we've found skin for so far, looked a lot more like a scaled-up crocodile than a giant chicken. Might still have had fuzz somewhere nobody's dug up yet, along the back or the head. Nobody's found proof of that either way. That roar everybody knows, the one every trailer still uses, was built in a sound booth out of a baby elephant, a tiger, and an alligator layered together. An artistic choice made because silence doesn't sell popcorn. An open-mouth roar was probably never physically on the table for a pretty simple reason. Roaring the way a lion does needs a specific kind of flexible voice box that mammals evolved, and as far as anyone can tell, dinosaurs never had the equipment for it. What dinosaurs' closest living relatives, birds and crocodilians, do instead is low, closed-mouth booming, more felt in your chest than heard. The same kind of sound an emu or an alligator makes. So the real T-Rex almost certainly didn't roar at you. It probably just made your ribs vibrate from 50 feet away. Somehow that's worse. The chase scene that scared an entire generation assumed something close to 45 miles an hour. Modern biomechanics says otherwise. At an estimated 8 or 9 tons, sprinting would put enormous stress through those leg bones, the kind of stress that risks snapping them clean through. Researchers who modeled the muscle and skeleton now put a comfortable top speed somewhere around 12 miles an hour. A few estimates stretch a bit higher, but none of them get anywhere close to outrunning a Jeep. For context, that's a brisk human jog. Terrifying up close, absolutely. Olympic sprinter? Not even remotely, and definitely not something you needed a getaway vehicle for. The most famous line in the whole franchise, and probably the most backwards one on this list. Researchers modeled the skull and the eye sockets, and the numbers are wild. A binocular overlap wider than a hawk's, positioned for excellent depth perception, on an animal that may have been able to pick out detail from over a mile away. Standing perfectly still would have done exactly nothing for you. If anything, T-Rex vision skews toward the sharpest of any land animal anyone's ever tried to measure, living or extinct, which makes that entire scene in the Jeep more of a horror story than the writers probably intended. And one bonus myth to close on, since it always gets people, you're probably picturing T-Rex hanging around Stegosaurus or Brontosaurus. They show up together on every dinosaur toy set ever made, but they never once crossed paths. Stegosaurus went extinct around 80 million years before T-Rex even showed up. Put another way, the T-Rex you're picturing lived closer in time to you, right now, watching this video, than it did to Stegosaurus. So, quick tally before we go. Not scaly for certain, might have had feathers and patches nobody's dug up yet. Not a jeep-chasing sprinter, more of a brisk jogger. Didn't roar with its mouth open, more of a chest-rattling boom. And it absolutely could see you, whether you moved or not. Comment down which one of these actually got you. I'm curious which myth had the strongest grip on you before today. If you want another one of these, subscribe. There's a lot more of what you think you know that turns out to be wrong. See you in the next one.